It's the first chapter of my book. You want to hear it? I'll probably never release it, but I'll probably never actually release it. But here it is. You ready? Okay. All right, everybody listen. This is the first chapter of my audiobook. Here we go. Here we go. Growing up with abusive parents is not as easy to understand as people might think. While many of the things they did were monstrous, they were not always monsters. The same person who slapped you in the face for spilling a glass of milk when you were a child was also the person who swaddled you when you were a newborn. The woman who taught you to drive is also the same person who beat you to near death for getting in your first fender bender. For many abused kids, it's hard to pick either love or hate. You'll probably always feel both. My dad, when he wasn't molesting one of us, was overwhelmingly charming. He was an alcoholic, and as many alcoholics are, he had a stereotypical wit about him. Perfect example. When I was in my preteens, my mother and father were spending their Saturday engaged in their favorite pastime, screaming at each other. I sat inches away from the television with it as loud as I could have it without getting in trouble, trying to drown out the sounds, staring at Saturday morning cartoons. My father entered the room and said, "Let's go." I knew better than to argue with him or question him, so I wolfed down my bowl of cereal, threw on my shoes and shirt, and climbed into his truck. I stared out the window as he drove. The songs of Conway Twitty and Johnny Cash was the soundtrack. We stopped at the corner store. He grabbed a 6-pack of cold Pabst Blue Ribbon for himself and a bottle of Mountain Dew for me. We headed to the register. Dad drove, as he almost always did, with a can of open beer between his legs. The smell of alcohol, both on his breath and seeping from his pores from the night before, filled the car. We pulled into the parking area for a new small fishing hole my hometown of St. Paul had built. They had altered the course of the river the summer before, and this small pond remained where the river once flew. They had stocked it with fish for the local rednecks like us to catch. We walked out to the end of the pier and sat with our legs dangling above the water. We watched the fish jump and listened to the quiet, interrupted only occasionally by the sounds of one of us drinking from our beverage of choice. It was Dad who broke the silence. "Son, tell me something." I looked up at his face and saw that it was tired, stubble covered. "Yeah, Dad." "Do you like girls?" He smiled. "I don't know, Dad. Maybe," I said, blushing. "Well, one day you will." He took a sip of beer as he paused. "You're going to make me a promise." Okay, Dad." My mind raced with the possibilities, but I knew better than to question it. "One day you're going to meet a girl who loves you very, very much. When you do, promise me you will treat her like a queen. Give her everything she asks for. If she says jump, you better ask her how high, but make sure your ass is already off the ground before you ask it. You got it?" Confused a little bit, I uttered, "Yeah, okay. I promise." He took a long, deep drink from his beer and a sip from his cigarette. He killed off his second can, and then he said to the quiet, "'Cause if you don't, she'll turn out to be a real cunt like your mother." We both laughed at that one. There you go. That's chapter 1. What do you think? Is that good? Am I an okay writer? I don't know. I mean, an editor's never even looked at this. And that's page 1 of... Fuck. This says 25, but I know there's more on the phone. I think I'm up to like page 50 or 60 in my phone. So this is an old draft. But... Now I need another beer? Yeah. Let's see, what else we got in here? Is this... I don't know if this chapter's in